Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're focusing on something that is incredibly common, yet surprisingly misunderstood by society at large. We're going to unpack the psychology of people who cry easily. We're diving straight into the research to completely shift your paradigm about what it actually means to shed a tear. So, if you're someone who tears up quickly or you know someone who does, get ready, because pretty much everything you thought you knew about this is about to change. Why do some people cry so easily? Well, it's a core question, right? We've all asked it at some point, whether we're wondering about our own reactions or maybe about someone we love. For a very, very long time, society has fundamentally misunderstood this perfectly normal human trait. We've labeled it, boxed it in, and honestly, we've judged it without really looking at the underlying psychological mechanisms. Okay, let's dive into this. We really need to contrast the societal stigma directly with the actual science. The stigma tells us that crying easily makes you weak, maybe overly sensitive, or just quote-unquote too emotional. But psychology and neurological science, they tell a completely different story. The science actually shows that easy criers are exceptionally emotionally aware, highly empathetic, and deeply powerful. Section 1. The misunderstood crier. Redefining the stigma. Section 2. The biology of tears, the physical necessity of crying. You see, crying isn't just some fleeting mood. It's a profound physiological response tied to what psychologists call high emotional reactivity. This basically describes a highly responsive nervous system wiring. And this clears up a massive misconception. These individuals don't necessarily have more emotions than everyone else. Rather, they process their feelings much faster and with way greater clarity. Their brains are quite literally wired to intake, analyze, and feel emotional data at an incredibly accelerated speed. So the crucial point is this. Tears are the body's natural release valve. If you think about it mechanically, when that highly reactive nervous system processes all that intense emotional data so quickly, the physical body actually needs a way to vent the pressure. Crying is a built-in, totally necessary physical function. It's literally an evolutionary mechanism designed to keep the human system running smoothly without overloading. And this builds our understanding beautifully. Consider the stark difference between the myth of a mental breakdown and the biological reality of a mental reset. When someone cries easily, onlookers usually panic, assuming a breakdown is happening. But physiologically, emotional crying actively releases stress hormones, specifically cortisol. So by shedding those tears, they are actively regulating their nervous system. They aren't breaking down at all. They are brilliantly, biologically resetting themselves so they can keep going. Section 3. Healthy emotional processing. Real-time psychological benefits. So we've seen the biology, but how do these individuals actually handle complex feelings day to day? Well, the contrast between suppressing and expressing is pretty striking. On one hand, we have suppressing emotions. Most people do this, right? They push confusing or painful feelings down. But psychology shows this directly leads to long-term chronic stress, severe burnout, and eventual emotional shutdown. On the other hand, we have healthy emotional expression. People who cry easily let their emotions out in real time. Because they express it immediately, the emotion doesn't get stuck in their bodies. They process it, release it, and move on much faster and healthier than those who stubbornly bottle it up. Crying isn't a weakness, it's emotional honesty. I just love how this thought stands completely on its own. It highlights a massive level of emotional intelligence. People who cry easily are highly tuned into their inner world. They possess this superior ability to identify exactly what they're feeling and exactly why they're feeling it. They aren't hiding from their emotional reality, they're facing it head on. Section 4. The empathy advantage, the interpersonal superpower. And this brilliantly illustrates why this is a superpower. Mirror neuron responses. This is the brain's powerful empathy system. In people who cry easily, this neurological system is often highly active, which allows them to truly feel other people's pain deeply. When you're hurting, they don't just offer you empty sympathy. Their biology allows them to authentically empathize. And this makes them incredibly compassionate, deeply understanding, and undeniably emotionally safe to be around. Because of this intense internal and external processing, some specific highly desirable traits emerge. These individuals are very often deep thinkers. They reflect more, and they feel more. They're highly intuitive, possessing a remarkably rich inner world. They are acutely aware of subtle emotional shifts, both in themselves and in the people around them. Their emotional sensitivity directly correlates with a profound cognitive depth that makes them just incredible problem solvers and friends. Section 5. A hidden strength,
the ultimate reframe.
So where does all this research in psychological data leave us? Well, we are definitively taking that tired old myth of weakness and replacing it with the scientifically proven reality of strength. Here is the objective truth about crying. If you are a quick crier, you are emotionally aware, you are deeply empathetic, and you are wired to feel life honestly. If you've ever felt embarrassed about your tears, or if you love someone who's highly sensitive, use this validation right from the science. I really want to let this sink in for a moment. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's a rare strength that most people just don't possess. In a modern world that so often encourages us to be numb, to push down our feelings, and to hide our true human reactions, maintaining the ability to feel deeply and process honestly is an absolute beautiful asset. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. Will you view your next tear as a breakdown or as a breakthrough in emotional honesty? The next time you feel that familiar lump in your throat, remember the biology, remember the emotional intelligence, remember the strength. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this helps you understand yourself or the people you care about just a little bit better. Stay curious and keep learning.